Hi there, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to show you the construction process and the cost in today's Nigerian market 2024 of this 5-bedroom duplex from DPC to the decking level. And we're going to carry along showing you all the activities and how we brought this project to reality. Stay tuned as we take you to the process and give you the exact cost it will take you to bring this project to reality in today's Nigeria. So after casting the DPC, the next thing we do is to bring out all the four corners of the building, squaring them and taking clue from the ground floor, the blocks on the ground floor, ensuring that they are aligning and of course are perfectly squared. Now this is a process that could take some time because this determines whether the blocks are going to be positioned in the right places or not. And by the end of the day, during the tiling, that's when you see whether a building is perfectly squared or not. So this is the first thing we do, get all the four corners first and then start the internal demarcations. And we don't rush this process because it determines the success of the work. Just watch as we do that. So what we do here is to bring out 2 or 3 experienced men who will be forming with us, while the rest of them will be jacking or carrying the blocks up. So here we have finished the 4 corners, and the other ones are, carrying them, putting on the blocks on top of the other, and laying the blocks, while we are working with 2 to set out the internal partitions. Now this is another process that needs to be taken care of in a very serious manner, because any mistake here will affect other things. For instance, you can see what we are trying to do here. Sometimes when you set out the block according to the measurement you have on drawing, you see that some columns will be slightly off. In that case, we then need to brainstorm and decide the best place to place the blocks, or maybe adding 1 inch or 2 to a space, such that everything will align to avoid bending or cranking the columns, because of course it's better the columns stand rather than cranking them, shifting their position when they have already come up. So the best thing to do is to ensure that the columns stand erect from the foundation to the last point. So this forming also entails marking out both the walls, the doors, and the windows. So we first of all bring out all the internal demarcations, one wall after another, then bring out the entrance doors, and then bring out the windows for the building to stand. And this process is systematically carried out. For instance, when we want to form the main lounge, we bring the internal walls, bring out the internal partitions for that particular space, and set it out, lay the blocks, mark out the doors, lay the blocks, and after that is done, then we go to the next space. And after all these spaces have been brought out, then the next thing will not be to start bringing out the windows, marking out the windows and any other space. For instance, where you have a beam around an area, for instance, places like the dining area, then you mark out the beams and other open spaces, one after the other, until all the spaces and all the walls on the drawing has been brought out.
So this pillar go dey correct. How block is this? The wall here goes straight. Yes.
So in this slide, I was trying to make sure that my guys understand the drawing and know where what wall needs to go and where what needs to stop. So with that, when that is established and everybody knows, every major worker in the site understands what we need to do about the project, it helps to progress the project from that level to the next one. So that is one thing that is important. When we are working, we try and ensure that all the major employees in the site understand the basics about the job, so that executing it will not be a problem. You won't keep repeating yourselves before they understand and do what needs to be done. So that is what we're trying to do there. I asked them about certain walls and they explained what they understood, and of course we agreed where what wall was going to stop and where what wall was going to continue. Then during the work, we ensure that after setting out each block, we square it to ensure that it is perfectly aligned with the other walls within the building. And now the squaring process is such that you take a clue from the first line that was formed and then ensure that it squares with all the other lines. And once this is gotten exactly the way it should be, you don't have a problem squaring the entire building. So now all the external and internal partitions have been formed. The next thing now is to lay the blocks one on top of the other until we get to the window level. And once that is done, we will mark out all the windows, and then the block will continue to the deck to the lintel level. So here all the masons are concentrating on carrying the blocks up, just laying one on top of the other to the window level. This implies the most difficult aspect of the work has been done. Clues have been taken from the foundation blocks and established points, and then all the internal and external partitions marked out. So the next thing now is to get to the window level and then mark out all the windows. Then work continues.
Just come out that 2 block for us.
And the door? Door dead there. Mother block. Door dead there. Come on.
So because of the slopey nature of the land, we had a very high foundation. You can see what we have at the back side, while the front is as if it's not high enough. So this is one of the problems we have in buildings. When the site is slopey, you need to manage it such that by the end of the day you have a relatively flat surface inside the building. So that is what we did here, to have a high foundation that is almost 10 blocks, while the front has just about 3 above the ground. As at now, the second day of work, we have marked out the windows and the blocks are being taken up, establishing the window points and carrying them up one after the other, as you can see in this video. By the close of work on the second day, some walls had already gotten to the lintel level and ready for the ironwork and the carpentry work. In order to move the work fast to meet the project target, we normally start the ironwork as soon as forming begins. The iron bender also starts forming both the extension pillars and bending his rings for the lintel. So that helps us such that as soon as the work gets to that level, all he needs to do is just to carry them and install, and the casting of the lintel begins. So that's actually what we did here, such that by the time before we got to the lintel level, the rods were already ready. So he had to just carry them, place them in place, and we're ready to cast. So at this point, the boarding work, the formwork for the casting, and as well as the casting had begun of the lintel. And this actually we do as a chain lintel, linking all the walls of the building together. This plays a major role to bind the building together and also to help to distribute the load on the building from the top to the foundation. So that is what we do with the lintel. Ordinarily, this would have been a beam, but in order to save cost, there is no point after putting lintel, then the next block will now also be chain beam. So when I think of it that in order to save cost, we can use that lintel as a chain lintel, such that to chain the building, doing the same work the beam would have done on the next block level. So that is what we now do here. We use the lintel as a chain, chaining the building together, which serves both the structural role and a functional role in the building. So someone had asked this question in one of my videos, that why do we normally chain the lintels instead of the beams? So this is your answer. It is because more or less we are trying to save cost for the client. That's number one. Number two, instead of repeating a process after putting the lintels, then you still come and put the beams on top of it. We then decide to bring down that beam to the lintel level, for instance, and then still do it around the building, treating the lintel now as a beam to serve both purposes. So that is the answer. That's the reason we do that. And you can see that immediately after the lintel work was done, then the leveling of blocks started to the decking level. To achieve this project from the DPC to the decking level, we used 40 lengths of 16 mm rods, which was used for the columns, 50 lengths of 12 mm rods for the lintels, 30 lengths of 8 mm rods for the steel ropes for both the lintel and the columns. Then the blocks used here were 3,000 pieces of 9 inches blocks. Then to achieve this, we used 100 bags of cement. The wood used here, both for the 9 inches sawing for the lintel and for the lintel boards, were 120. Then the sand we used, of course, were about 3 trips of sand. The chippings, that's the granite, was 15 tons. Then, of course, there were electrical materials that were used for the electrical piping and plumbing materials that were used to pass the pipes just before the decking. In addition, provision should also be made for the supply of water, whether pumping or buying or whichever source. Now, the total cost of material in today's Nigerian construction market, that is 2024 Nigerian market, for this project from DPC to the decking level was 4,987,000 naira, while the total cost of labor was 1,200,000 naira. In all, the total cost of material and labor to bring this project from DPC to decking level is 6,187,000 naira in today's construction market in Nigeria. Thank you for being with us this far, and see you in our next vlog.